trying to make it shorter.
I like that.
That was said by a chap called Blaise Pascal. He's a French guy in the 17th century. What this implies is when we're doing any form of email or business communication is we aren't taking the time to prepare. We think we don't have the time to prepare the communication. But the simple fact is when you don't, you're going to send out emails that you've forgotten an attachment or you've forgotten some pertinent information. Have you ever done that? You send out an email, oh, I forgot this. So you have to resend it. And very often we don't think that we have the time to go through it and get it the way that we need it to be. I'm going to show you methodology in the business writing section of how we can separate out the three functions of writing, because there are three functions, and the problem is we try and do them all at the same time. And what that does is it leads to all these issues of why our emails aren't as clear and as relevant as they need to be. Okay, so let's look 10 incredible email statistics. There's some interesting statistics here. You might want to take some notes on this. First statistic, 59% of people check email from the bathroom. You wouldn't believe it, but it's true. Think people, of course, now that email has gone mobile with the Palms and with the iPhones and Trios, check it on the bathroom. Here's another interesting statistic for you. In a 48-hour period, there are more emails sent than there are letters sorted through the USPS in a year. 62 trillion emails in 48 hours. Sometimes it feels like you're getting all of them, doesn't it? So 59% of people check email from the bathroom, which is a little scary statistic. You check your email more often than you think. Statistics show that we think we check our email once or twice an hour, but research shows that we actually check it every 5 minutes. And the interesting component about that is there's a thing called variable interval reinforcement, and it's a psychological aspect of email. Because we do get some interesting things via email, but we never know when they're going to arrive. So therefore, every time an email comes in, we think that's going to be interesting. So if you are working on something and you've got your new email signature coming up with a noise, you think, oh, that's really interesting. And you go and look and no. But there's a whole problem when you do that because that interrupts your workflow. So you're checking your email more often than you think. An email eats 25% of the working day, which is crazy. Because these days nobody works quite the 9 to 5 that we used to 30 years ago, where we were writing business letters and everything seems to take a long time. We send telegraphs. Now with email, our days have definitely extended. 47% of people get hooked on email, and 25% say that they can't go longer than 3 days without email. Can you imagine that? People going on vacation, taking their Blackberries or laptops, downloading email, checking into the office, because of course the office can't live without them. Email interruption. Actually, I think this statistic is underplayed. What happens when you get an email is you're doing one task and now you've got to go and check this email to see if it's interesting or not. How many of you have people who send you email that's things like, if you love me, you send me back this angel. Remember the junk emails? You get those? Delete. So you're working away, you're doing a report or a proposal, and then bing, the new email sound comes up and think, that's going to be the interesting email. You look and it says, if you love me. Well, the problem now is it takes you at least a minute, and I actually think, as I say, the statistic is underplayed. It takes you 3 to 5 times to get back into the job as it took you to take a look at the email. So your job is getting longer, not only because you've got so many emails, but because you keep interrupting yourself. We think we are multitaskers, but we can only focus on one thing at a time. So this is where we have to learn how to control our email in the first place, as well as what we do with it. Stress and email. There are 3 types of emailers here. I'm going to go into more later. There's the relaxed responder. A relaxed responder is the kind of person who treats email the way that they would treat snail mail. It comes in, they'll look at it, and they'll send it off. Then we have the driven responders. These are people who send an email and they want you to reply right now. We all know those people. Does anybody here use read receipts on their emails?
Yes.
Why? Why do you use them?
Because a lot of times I need to, like, it's information I'm waiting for, and people don't respond. So we've read it, so then we have to follow up. It's like usually it's a mass email that's gone out, and I'm waiting for information from different sites, and then I kind of know, okay, they've read it, they haven't got back to me, so I have to follow up and say, can you please, I need this.
See, I always advocate, and I've taught this material thousands of times, I always advocate that that's a band-aid solution. You're not treating the symptom, you're treating the cause. You're treating the people who, we call them players. The people say, oh, I didn't get your email. And we use a read receipt, and it's like checking up. You don't get a voicemail receipt when someone's listened to your voicemail. So my recommendation is, if that's happening, you have to talk to the people, because we've lost a fine-art conversation. Pick up the phone and talk to them about it. So you need to deal with that in a little different way than using read receipts. Personally, I never check off a read receipt.
Me neither.
Because I don't want somebody, because the expectation is I've read it, now you're going to expect me to do something with it, and it's up to me to decide. So if you are tempted to use a read receipt, think about why, and then if someone is constantly complaining, hey, I didn't get the email, call them up and say, hey, there seems to be a problem here. What I'd like to suggest is I'm going to put a delivery receipt on my next email, not a read receipt. A delivery receipt tells you it's arrived in their inbox. It's a little less obtrusive.
A lot of people, though, they don't do their out of office, so I use it kind of too, that if they're not in the office and I have to go to the second in command, so they haven't read it, so it's like, okay, I'll phone up and say, so-and-so in the office, oh no, he's on vacation, or he's out today, or he won't be back till Thursday, so it's like, okay, I'll follow up with so-and-so. So a lot of, that's how I kind of use it too. It's like they haven't read it, so maybe they're not available, they're not around.
I know, it's tough, because I think that talks to how we should use our set of expectations anyway, which is, we need to be professional about it. So that might be something you want to get anyone to do, use their after office notification. So driven responders, and then there are the stresses responders. They just stress out completely about all the emails. Oh my God. So percentage-wise, they reckon that 57% are the relaxed responder, 32% are driven, and 11%. But I think, again, that's underplayed. I think there are way more stressed-out responders than we actually would like to give thought to. And sometimes we can be that stressed responder. The simple fact is, the notion of pressing send on your email, now it's out of your hands. Now it's in someone else's court. Yes. So people overestimate their ability to communicate humour and anger over email. This is quite interesting. In studies, when people are asked, did you convey sarcasm or some other form of humour, face-to-face communications, 86% of the time you get it right. But in email, it's less than 50%. And smiley faces don't cut it. No place for smiley face in a business email. But people underestimate their ability to communicate humour and sarcasm in an email. And here's why. In a communications wheel of 100%, 55% is your body language. 38% is the tone of voice that you use. Only 7% is the words. So your words carry a lot of meaning when that's the only methodology they have of reading it. If I said to Cheryl, I'm so happy you got that promotion. Doesn't look like it, right? But Cheryl, I'm so happy you got that promotion. It's the same words, but said differently, and the body language is different. The tone that people take when they're reading your email is their tone, not yours. So you have to be very careful about what you're writing. People are less cooperative. I find actually some of these statistics are actually very interesting. We have a negative tendency in our emails, and this has been proven. People are more negative in an email versus even pen and paper. When people were asked to rate a colleague and give them a performance appraisal, they were 50% more negative when doing it via email than doing it through pen and paper. So it's fascinating that we are able psychologically to be more negative over email than we would any other form of communication.
Because they can't see you.
Exactly. You know what? You're absolutely right. That's right, Maria. Email does not build rapport. Rapport is the thing where you get to know people, you have a conversation, you understand the situation they're in, they understand you. Rapport, because of its basis on relationship, is not something that you can do in an email. Email is not a conversation. Email is giving out information. It's called asynchronous. What it means is you're carrying out information, but the other person doesn't have to be there to receive it, whereas in a conversation you do. If you ever find yourself in conflict over email, and I can personally attest to this, pick up the phone. My brother and I fell out for 10 years over email. And I teach this stuff. So we have now made friends again, because we actually met face to face to talk about it. So never, ever, ever use email to try and resolve conflict. Lying is justified over email, or we think it is. We think that lying is justified over email. And here's why. Number one here. Emails are less permanent. That's what we think. We think, because the medium is right there in front of us, we feel that email is less permanent. It's not like writing a letter. It's not like getting that pen and paper out and making something more formal. But the fact is, there's no such thing as a deleted email. You can never get rid of an email. Once you've sent it, you can't control what somebody who's received it does with your email either. So psychologically, it seems a quicker medium for us. It's more like a conversation, but the reality is, it isn't. The other reason is that we have less restraint. There's a thing called online disinhibition effect. And what that means is that we have a separation from ourselves and the medium. Because we think, well, you can't see me, you don't know where I am, and it's asynchronous. So there's a real psychological thing going on with this, because the immediacy of this medium and the fact that it's so remote and we can't see the person that we're communicating with, that we feel justified with lying. Lower personal connection. Again, you cannot build a relationship through email. It's not possible. There's all kinds of stories about online dating. Not me, but other people. You can hear stories of trying to build up relationships with other people through that medium. It just doesn't cut the mustard. Doesn't work out. Then there are 6 types of emailers. Let's see if you're going to recognise yourself in this. We are all one of these. There's the cryptic. The cryptic is the person who litters